All right, welcome back to the Powers on Sports podcast. Appreciate you finding us on all the various podcast platforms, Apple, Google, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever else you get your podcast from. We are leading off the podcast this week with my man TJ Rives of the Buccaneer Radio Network, Compass Media Networks. He had one hell of a weekend in the world of football. He was at a couple of mega games over the weekend. So we're going to bring TJ in, and he's going to set the scene for us from Tuscaloosa, Alabama on a Saturday, and then on one Foxborough, Boston, Massachusetts, Sunday night. Welcome back, TJ.
It is always good to be on the Powers on Sports podcast. I am doing this fresh off of getting back from New England. Please, for my own sake, if I start to give out my social security number or my bank account information, stop me from doing that on the Powers on Sports podcast. I might be a little delirious at this point, but it was a lot of fun. It's a privilege to get to do these things. I know you want to talk Bama and Ole Miss, and then we'll get to that little bitty significant Buccaneer Patriot game that came on Sunday night that I think about 15 minutes ago I finally dried out from being in the rain most of the night, including in the fourth quarter. And the football gods smiled on the Buccaneers because probably the hardest rain of the night, Jason, happened on the final Patriots drive with them trying to kick the field goal. And I don't know how much, if any, that affected Nick Folk. You can speak better to this as a former Division I kicker. I don't know how much it affected him, but hey, we'll take the clank off the upright and the victory after 10 years of one shank after miss, after pull, after clank from Buccaneer kickers in the fourth quarter and in the clutch. We'll take that one and a few more from some other kickers, my friend.
And interesting point about the kicker. Mr. Folk was a Buccaneer a few years back on a Thursday night.
And
missed 3 field goals in a game against the Patriots here in Tampa that the Buccaneers could have won very easily.
And there you go. And so it comes full circle in Tom Brady's return game. But I think you want to talk a little college chronologically first, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to produce your show, but I know you mentioned that.
Yeah. So I want you to take us to Tuscaloosa Saturday afternoon. 3:30, you and
Wait, hold on. Alabama just scored again. Continue on. Yes.
You, Steve Berline, up in the booth calling the game. Give us the sense of the anticipation heading into that game with Saban and Lane Kiffin.
So the first thing is they've welcomed back everybody to full capacity. I did 3 games a year ago for Compass Media Networks in Tuscaloosa, and all of them were at 25% capacity. So you had about 20,000 people there. That's not the same thing as what we saw on Saturday, including about 3 hours before the game, the masses of humanity that were everywhere around downtown Tuscaloosa and trying to get around to Bryant-Denny Stadium. So that's the first thing you're struck by. And, man, they were roaring. They were going crazy. Pregame, they knew how big this game was. And, Jason, I cannot get over a few days later that Mac Jones – Najee Harris, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, and 2 of the offensive linemen, 6 total, got drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. And these guys don't miss a beat with the players that they have. It's crazy how they reload with these guys. And they were up 28-0 before you could spell Kiffin, and they get the opening kickoff to start the second half and drive right down their throat for 35-0 and basically game over. So you talk about prohibitive favorite to repeat. Alabama looks the part. All things being equal, they look the part, my friend.
And everybody thought this was going to be an absolute shootout. And I thought a big part of the game was early. Kiffin kept going for it on 4th down. He could have kicked, I know you have to be aggressive against Alabama. I get it. But I think he was ultra aggressive and maybe too aggressive and should have scored early.
You and I have seen a lot of football. When is the last time any coach went for it on 4th down 3 times on the opening drive of the game? Opening drive of the game, not having to do it because the game is hanging in the balance in the fourth quarter. He told you right there, almost like one of those banners flying behind one of those airplanes that was flying around Tuscaloosa. We know we need touchdowns.
Right.
That's what he was saying to everybody. And Bama stopped him there and made some defensive adjustments. And you just got to give them credit. They were strong on defense with the 4-man pass rush. Ole Miss couldn't do what they wanted to do. And then Alabama sledgehammered them with the run game. Didn't have to throw it a bunch. But, again, a complete performance by Alabama. I cannot stress enough. I know we have a long way to go, but they are the team to beat right now. Clearly, you can talk about Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan. Are they back? A couple of other teams maybe in the mix, Oklahoma, but Alabama is the team to beat.
No, there's no doubt about it, and especially in the SEC. Georgia will give them a game, I think, but as far as Arkansas getting thrashed by Georgia, Florida's lost. You've got LSU struggling in the West, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. I mean, the West is pretty much Auburn.
I didn't mean to interrupt. They played Texas A&M this weekend, and you thought, okay, maybe Jimbo Fisher's going to be ready to go because he's never beaten Nick Saban, much less at Texas A&M. And they go and lose to Mississippi State at home. Maybe in a look ahead, I don't know. So some of the luster is now off of Texas A&M for that game this weekend.
Oh yeah, they've lost 2 in a row. That game, their quarterback's hurt. That's CBS put that game in prime time about 3 weeks ago, thinking it was going to be a battle of undefeateds. Now they're cringing and wish they had Auburn, Georgia in prime time.
All right. Well, again, it's Alabama, and they're a great love-hate team, like the Yankees, like the Lakers, like the Dallas Cowboys. They're a love-hate team too. So some will watch to see if maybe A&M can upset them as much as the Alabama fans will watch.
All right, where'd you go for dinner in Birmingham?
Jim and Nick's, the barbecue. There's several different choices. There's Dreamland. You're a Birmingham guy. There's Dreamland that you can go to. There's what is it? Is it Blue Moon? I never get it straight.
Blue Moon. Full moon
for them. Blue Moon is the drink.
Yes.
Not that I'm a drinker. Full Moon, Jim and Nick's, Dreamland are always on the hit list. We did catch Jim and Nick's on Friday night for dinner. And then after it was over, we went to a sports bar type place in the Birmingham Hoover area by the hotel with literally, I think, the Birmingham Auburn fan club, because the Auburn LSU game was on. It was so loud, I'm surprised you couldn't hear it back in Tampa Bay. The TVs turned up, and anything Auburn did, you thought you were at Jordan Hare Stadium. So that was some scene to sit in and watch for about a quarter. That's about all I could take before I needed more aspirin to move on. So we did hit some good food spots, and then we made our way Sunday morning to Foxborough for the Bucs and the Patriots.
So you flew out of Birmingham would you go straight to Atlanta, then Atlanta to Boston?
Hooked up with the Mean Gene Deckerhoff.
Saw the picture.
Called the Florida State win over Syracuse. We hooked up Sunday morning in Atlanta, flew up to Providence, staying in Providence for the game in Foxborough. Providence is about 45 minutes to the south. Boston is about 35 minutes to the north of Foxborough, but there's much more traffic coming out of Boston south. So a lot of the NFL teams stay in Providence. And so we went to Providence, Rhode Island, right across the border for that game. So got a little bit of rest. And then here we go with Sunday night.
So set the scene for us. You get to Foxborough probably about 3:00 or so, I'm guessing?
Yep.
Something like that. All the national networks had been done pregame shows there, ESPN, CBS. They were all there, NFL Network. Give us the scene of the Foxborough tailgate situation. And did you know that it was going to rain? Was it raining early?
We didn't know there was rain in the forecast, yes. And so I had rain gear with me. Always come prepared or try to be prepared. I've done this long enough. Again, I've been to Patriot games before. It is always, they've won for so long, Jason. They are always hyped up. They're in their seats to begin the game. 2 or 3 things I will share because I don't think NBC showed a lot of it. But right before the Buccaneers ran on the field is when they did the planned video tribute, which Tom Brady knew was coming. They had told the team. They did it. The crowd rose as one. I'm talking to you a couple of days later, and the hair is still standing up on the back of my neck when I share this. The crowd rose as one and started roaring like a touchdown had been scored before they rolled the video. And I'm like, holy cow. And they rolled the video with all of his big moments, first of all in the snow against the Raiders and Gruden and the Charles Woodson play and the Vinatieri field goal in the snow, which many still call that the greatest field goal in NFL history for what's on the line. You're a former kicker.
I agree.
And so the Patriot dynasty is born there. They're showing the highlights from that Super Bowl with the Rams. They're showing all the highlights and all the big plays of all the Super Bowls for about 60 seconds. The crowd is roaring every time. And then they introduce, ladies and gentlemen, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they run on the field. And people were cheering, some boos, some cheering. Then they introduced the Patriots, and the whole place went berserk. They dimmed the lights again. The whole place went nuts. It was just some scene before the game. It was almost reminiscent of a Super Bowl, not the regular season, but AFC, NFC. That was some scene. And then I thought it was fair and appropriate. They booed him when he came on the field, and that came over, I think, pretty well on NBC too, that they were booing him loudly.
Yep.
Like, okay, we celebrated you. Now you're the enemy.
Right.
You're the Buccaneer enemy. And I keep saying, how many times have we seen Tom Brady in a blue Patriots jersey pull a game out in Foxborough? And now it was in Buccaneer, white, and pewter, where I had every confidence they're going to win this game in the fourth quarter with him. He's not letting this team lose. And even if the field goal had gone through, one more point, there's still 50 seconds left.
And
there's still two timeouts left.
Yep.
He can still make a couple of plays and get the Bucs back in field goal range.
Yep.
So wild night, got wet, long night, didn't get a lot of sleep, but worth it after the Bucs win. Jason Powers. 2
quick points on the game, and then we'll move to the post game. Interesting scenario there. Late in the fourth quarter, the Bucs have the ball at about the 30, down a point. Second and third down, he goes for broke to Antonio Brown in the end zone. A lot of people think you're going to rely on Ryan Succop to kick a 48-yard field goal. And granted, he misses Antonio Brown by about 6 inches from being a touchdown, but he missed him. Your thoughts of that? Did you not think that they were going to try to get a little closer for Ryan, or what were your thoughts on just? And again, you could tell Brady was emotional in that game. He was a little off with his accuracy, whether it was the weather, whether it was the emotion of the game, who knows? But you could tell Brady was a little bit off his game, and give Belichick credit. He did a good job on the defensive side.
Well, and you're right. In that circumstance, they went for the touchdown on back-to-back plays instead of trying to get the first down and bleed the clock some and maybe get a clinching touchdown if they could. No risk it, no biscuit is Bruce Arians going for it. And I asked him about that play after the game, and he said, hey, it was not the primary design. It was if we get a certain look from the coverage, he's going to come off the primary read and he's going to go long again. And that's what they did. Little revealing there. Love this stuff. This is why you got to listen to the Powers on Sports podcast. That was also from Bruce Arians on Buccaneers Radio after it was done. Again, just give them credit. He made the throws that he had to make when that throw to Antonio Brown on the final drive on the third down to keep the drive alive is a bullet. It's a great throw. 44-year-old quarterback still got the zip on the football. So, and then Succop makes the kick, and then my man Levante David bats that ball down. Did it surprise you, like it surprised a lot of people, that Belichick didn't go for the fourth down and tried the 55.5-yard field goal? Because I will go ahead and say, I said on the sideline, I'm standing near Michelle Tafoya of NBC and others, and I just said out loud, they're kicking, and they were, and he missed. Did it surprise you?
It really didn't, because I mean, again, Nick Foltz doesn't have the biggest leg in the world, but I think he didn't want to put all the pressure on Mac Jones on a fourth down play, personally. I almost think in the back of his mind, he'll never admit this, he's thinking, if Nick Folk can make this kick and then I stop Tom Brady from winning the game, then what? Yeah,
right. Well, it's true. And maybe he, and obviously Folk had the distance. It was not an issue of not being able to get it there. But again, Buccaneer mojo with all the kickers, and Nick Folk being a former kicker, it all worked out in the end.
All right, talk to me about post game. Obviously, you saw Brady hugging everybody on the field.
Right.
His interview with Michelle Tafoya. How close were you to all that action? And then obviously,
I had left. So you're seeing all of that. We have to go get ready for the post game radio duties to interview Bruce Arians and other players.
Yep.
So I did not see him. I knew they were going to talk to him, and so I did not see him being interviewed there. Now I saw him coming down the tunnel with people clapping, cheering. I'm talking about workers, stadium workers, underneath the stadium, clapping for him as he jogged back to the tunnel in the locker room, back down where we were all standing. So I got to see that part. And here's what you want to know. So we get done interviewing Bruce Arians. We get done interviewing Ryan Succop. And again, it all runs together here, Jason. I think I mentioned this on the Nothing But Bucs official podcast on Buccaneers.com.
Promote yourself. Promote it.
Okay, so Nothing But Bucs is on Buccaneers.com and the Buccaneers mobile app. It's after every game. It's a recap podcast, highlights, interviews, my analysis. I think I said this. Maybe I didn't. So you're getting it now on Powers on Sports. We're done with the post-game show. We're deconstructing the equipment. We're right beside the Buccaneers locker room, socially distanced where we have to be. And Bill Belichick is walking right towards me, unaccompanied, unescorted, going to the Buccaneer locker room. Jason, he walks a foot past me while I'm standing there. He doesn't know who I am. He walks right by me to go in the Bucs line. I'm like, okay, here comes the post-game meeting that everybody doesn't know and doesn't see is coming. And they were in there for about 20 minutes. He did talk to Bruce Arians a little bit. He talked to Tom Brady a lot. So I thought that was interesting. And why not? These guys are intertwined forever. They'll go into the Hall of Fame together, Belichick and Brady. Why not? So there's a little scoop on the Powers on Sports podcast.
That's what I was going to ask you. I knew that word got out post game and that Belichick made an appearance in the Buccaneer locker room. And, I heard some comments from Blaine Gabbert about everybody was like, whoa, what is he doing in here kind of deal. And that he stayed for 15 minutes. It wasn't like it was a 2-minute visit.
Right.
It seemed like it was a pretty detailed conversation with he and Tom. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So that's a great insight from you and awesome. All right. What time did you get out of there? Did you get out of there Monday morning? When did you guys fly out?
We got out of there Monday morning, little to no sleep, did the podcast in the middle of the night, early morning flight, got back to Tampa. Again, I'm still recovering. I'm not as young a man as I used to be, but it's worth it. The Buccaneers won the game, and now you get to reload and be at home this week. So that's a good thing. And again, with all of that out of the way, now you look towards the next 2 or 3 weeks here of Dolphins at home, an Eagles team that's struggling, and a Bears team that, yes, beat Detroit, who's bad, but they've been struggling. There is a real chance one at a time here to build some momentum, Jason Powers.
Absolutely. I think there's a big weight that's off of Tom's shoulder and the Bucs' shoulder in the anticipation of this game that's been building up for basically since training camp started. You hate to say it, since training camp's been going. Now I think you can take a big, deep breath. And I'm like you. I think the Buccaneers are going to go on a run here and win 4, 5, 6 games in a row type of deal. And it's going to do nothing but free up Tom. I think everybody's going to be free. And don't be surprised if Brady lights up the league here in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
I'm all here for it. I want happy post-game shows, keep winning games. We had so many years where you couldn't get out of your own way, couldn't figure it out, lose 10 games, lose 12 games. Let's get used to winning and winning in bunches. I love that. And it was good to see. I know the Patriots deserve some credit. They played well. They played tough, but you really wonder how psychologically damaged they are now at 0-3 at home, 1-3 overall. We'll see. It's gonna take a lot of effort from Belichick and his coaches to turn them around.
Last game note, we'll get you out of here. Give me an update on Richard Sherman. How do you think he looked? Obviously, his role is now going to be even more important with Carlton Davis going down. With
sure.
The depleted secondary. How did you think he looked from Fields?
No Jamel Dean. We don't know if Sean Murphy Bunting can come back soon from the elbow injury. Jamel Dean is week to week right now with the knee injury.
Yep.
Richard Sherman played 58 plays.
Right.
And I cannot get over that. I mean, I kept watching in the third and fourth quarter, and I'm going, okay, I know they're depleted, but how much does he have in the tank with no training camp, no preseason to get out there? So that's a credit to him. I don't know how long he can hold up physically. He missed the last 12 games last year with a calf injury. He had an Achilles injury the year before that.
Right.
Can the legs hold up? But he brings veteran leadership. I thought for a brief second in the third period he was going to take off on the fumble return. When he picked it up, I'm like, how Hollywood would this be if this guy picks it up and races to the end zone with it? And one more fun one. You're playing with he and Pierre Desir. Desir has been on the Bucs practice squad before. They had just picked him up to the active roster earlier in the week. I don't know that Richard Sherman knew Pierre Desir's last name, but they're out there on the field together in the second half. Desir obviously knows who Richard Sherman is, but I don't know that Richard knew Pierre beyond first name basis, Pierre, for the game, but they got it done, and that's a credit to Todd Bowles and to his staff, Kevin Ross, the defensive backs coach, the corners coach, to coach them up. The players got to go and play, and they did. And Richard Sherman deserves credit again. I hope he holds up physically. It's bizarre. We're used to seeing him in Seattle and Arizona, but brother, I was right down there on the sideline with him wearing a Buccaneer number 5. It's crazy. It's no crazier than Tom Brady throwing a touchdown to Rob Gronkowski in the Super Bowl at Raymond James Stadium in the end zone. That is all-time goofy, twinkie, Twilight Zone bizarre. But Richard Sherman being out there in Buck colors, that was pretty interesting Sunday night.
Last note, and I'll get you out of here. While you're eating at Jim and Nick's on Friday night in Birmingham, my good buddy, one of my best friends, is refereeing a game in Birmingham, a high school game, Friday night. And he's the guy on Monday Night Countdown. Come on, man. That they throw the ball off his knee that deflects off, and the high school kid picks it off on the defense and runs for a touchdown on ESPN's Monday Night Countdown. Literally about 10 minutes down the road from where you're eating at Jim and Nick's.
Not what you want to be known for as an official. And I know you officiate. You don't want to be part of the play or part of the action or part of come on, man, on that. You would rather not be. We had one of those in another game. I'm trying to remember where there was a sacked fumble and it hit the referee and it was still a live ball, and I want to say, was it an NFL game or a college game? It all runs together, but there was another one. The rule always is the same with basketball, not with baseball. The official is part of the play. And in hockey, it's the same thing. The official is part of the play. In baseball, it's a dead ball if the ball hits the umpires anywhere in the field of play. But football, basketball, and hockey, it's part of the play. It's part of the human element. Play on with hitting the officials. So yeah, good stuff on that. I always love the take.
While you're eating cheese biscuits at Jim and Nick's, my buddy's making Come On Man ESPN, baby.
You are connected everywhere, my friend.
All right, tell everybody where they can find all your good stuff online.
Hey, you're too kind. Find the Three Dog Thursday podcast. Love the insight. Love having Jason Powers and others on picking underdogs in college football and the NFL. We still picked 4 more of them last week. We have 22 successful underdog picks off the last 4 shows now. So we're hanging in there with picking underdogs, college football, and the NFL. Find Three Dog Thursday wherever you find your podcast. Like Jason is saying, keep knocking them dead with the Powers on Sports podcast, my friend. I love that and all the work that you do. And let's see what the Buccaneers can continue to do with those dastardly Dolphins this weekend at home.
And definitely tell everybody where they can find you on the postgame show on the Buccaneers.
Postgame Buccaneers Radio. 98 Rock is the local affiliate in Tampa Bay. It is also on the Buccaneers mobile app. If you're in Florida, you can hear it as well. Sirius XM, tune in, also have the game coverage. You have to pay the subscription though for those.
Yep.
Again, thanks for the plug. We'll be on prior to the game and after the game Sunday with the Dolphins. It's not every day you get to play the Dolphins in the regular season. First time in 8 years they've been here at Raymond James Stadium. We'll see what happens.
TJ gets Bruce Arians every week. First interview, post game. He does an awesome job. Keep up the great work, my man. And we will talk real soon.
Listen, I always love being with you. Keep knocking them dead on Powers on Sports, my friend. Good stuff.
We're trying. Hang in there, folks. We'll be right back with Steve Carney to break down all things Major League Baseball playoffs coming up this week. We'll be right back in just a minute.